Hi, I'm Jo, one of the coaches at GLK United, but in my spare time I also ride horses. We compete in dressage, so I'm going to show you a little bit more about what it's all about. So this is Jazz. She's one of the dressage horses, and she's a warm blood cross, which is gives her the really good breeding for dressage, because it's really important that they move well. She's in really good condition at the minute because there's the spring grass, so she's got nice muscle up here on the top line. She's a very gentle, sweet horse in the stable, so she's very nice and sweet, and hopefully it's nice and calm for her dressage tests. So at the minute my mum's just giving her a bit of a groom, which we do before we put all of the tack and equipment on, just to make sure that she hasn't got any little bits of dirt that can get stuck in all of the saddle and maybe make her uncomfortable, and also just so that she just has a bit of a groom there. They quite enjoy it, as you can see. She's nice and relaxed there now. So now we're just putting on the bridle. This helps to give the rider control of the horse's head and what they're doing. So the bit goes through into the mouth, which enables you to do the steering and slowing down, up over the ears, and then we just fasten and attach so it's not loose and it's nice and comfortable for her while she's doing her work. So now we're just putting on the saddle. So this is a particular, you have a different saddle for the different kind of horse riding that you're doing. This is a dressage saddle, which is cut at the front to allow the shoulders to move. And as you can see, it's got quite a nice long flap down here, which allows the rider's leg to be nice and long. Whereas if you were doing something like show jumping, you tend to have a shorter side to the saddle here, and you tend to have a much shorter stirrup, so that you can have a shorter leg to enable you to sort of sit up and high over the jumps. Whereas with dressage, we want a nice long leg, and we want the rider's foot to be nice and low down here. The other part's the saddle. This is the stirrup, so the stirrup iron that your foot actually sits in while you're riding the horse, so that you can push up on these to do your rising trot, and also enable you to keep a nice steady leg on the horse, so you're not flapping around or bumping around everywhere. This is the stirrup leather, which is adjustable, so depending on how tall you are. There's other parts of the saddle, so this is the numner that sits underneath the saddle, and that just is a bit of cushioning on there to make it comfortable for the horse. This is the girth, the bit that goes up and around her belly and attaches to the other side, just so that the saddle doesn't slide off, or even worse, slip further back. And then we have the reins of the bridle, which the rider will then hold on to as they're riding. And then Jazz also has a breastplate here, and we often use this for the horses to get a bit excited. You can hold on to the breastplate if you have a bit of a hair-raising moment and need to hold on. Okay, so the next step is that we just add Jazz's boots. So as you can see, our horses all wear metal shoes. Now obviously if she's going along, it can be quite dangerous if one of her metal shoes hits her leg while she's running. So we just put on these, what we call brushing boots, which have a nice hard bit in the centre that goes on the inside, which then prevents, if they do brush their legs together, then that will take the impact of the metal shoe rather than her leg. So it's just one of the ways that we help to prevent injury. And of course with the dressage horses, their legs and their movement is so important, and asking her to do quite big movements means that she's more at risk of making that mistake. So they just help her out to ensure that she doesn't get injured. So this is the training facility that we have at the stables. This is called a menage, or sometimes called an arena. The ground is rubber, so it enables the horse to kind of skim over it and move really easily and not too deep. You can kind of see these markers that are even spaces across the arenas with letters on them. So we've got E and V. And these are really significant when you compete in dressage. When you compete in dressage, once you go to a competition, the competition will publish which dressage test you will actually be competing with. And what happens is within the test, it will tell you which movements you need to do at which markers. As you get up the levels, the movements that you need to execute at each marker gets harder and more complicated, and you have to train your horse to do these different movements, and we'll come on to show you Jazz doing some of the more complicated moves. You then get marked on how correct the movement is, how correct you do it, what the horse looks like, whether it's moving correctly, whether your riding position is correct. There's several different criteria to what they mark on. Okay, so here we can see Jazz doing something that we call lunging, which is where the handler stands in the middle and the horse is on the end of this kind of long line. And this just is a bit like any other sport where you would do a warm-up. So it enables Jazz to get her muscles really warm, ready for the moves, to get rid of any excess energy and for her to prepare to be ridden. A lot of people also use this if they've got a horse that's a bit spooky, just to get them used to kind of doing the moves. So Jazz is just doing a nice steady trot here, just to get herself all nicely warmed up. We've got a couple of extra training aids on there just to help her stretch down and get herself nicely warmed up. So now we have Jazz just cantering now on the lunge. So as you can see, this is a different action to the trot. This is the third gait that horses have. As you can see, as she goes around the circle, she's using her inside leg to the circle to canter first. This is the leg that's leading the canter, and it's really important that when they go in a circle, that their inside leg goes first. Try it yourself. Try and walk a circle with your outside leg of the circle going first. It's incredibly difficult. And now she's just gone back to a trot here. As you might be able to hear, my mum gives the aid with her voice to tell Jazz to canter or to slow down or to trot. So the lunging weapon here is not really ever used. It's just used to kind of continue her to get her moving on. The aim of lunging is to train them to react to your voice, so they know the different commands to walk, trot and canter. Okay, so now we're going to show you a bit of shoulder in. So this is where you move the horse's shoulder to the inside of the track, and her outside leg follows the inside hind leg. So as you can see, her inside hind leg and outside front leg are now on the same track. So next we're going to show you some half bars. So this is where the horse bends to the inside and moves across, a little bit like the leg yield, and the horse's legs at the front will cross over. Now we're going to show you a bit of the out. So this is one of the moves that Jazz is just learning, and this is to get the horse to trot on the spot. Nice, Jazzy. So when they're learning something, we usually just introduce it, do a little bit. They tend to get a little bit stressed out when they learn a new move. And once they're nice and relaxed, then allow them to come out of it and just do little bits, go off and do something else, little bits again, just so they get a little bit of used to it and don't get so stressed out about doing a new move. Some transitions, which means when the horse moves from one gait to the next. So at the moment here, Jazz is in trot, and we're just going to ask her to move into canter. As you can see, now she's gone through into canter, and then we move back down to trot. Now to get higher up the levels, you make these transitions more complicated. So now we can go from walk through into canter. go from canter all the way down. Okay, so as I kind of explained on the lunge, when you go into canter, you should see the front inside leg jump into canter first. This means on the right leg to go around the circle in this way. And again, once we get up the levels, you then need to teach the horse to do what we call a flying change. This is where they jump in the air to jump with their other front leg to go first, to go around a circle on the other way. So as we come across, we ask Jazz to jump there, and now she's on the other rein, going now round to the right, and she's got her inside leg going first. And as she comes across to come back onto the circle onto the left, she'll jump, change that leg, so now her front leg is going round the circle on the inside first again. We'll just show that once more. So this is quite one of the more complicated moves. Horses tend to get quite excited doing this for some reason. It's really important that all of her legs change at the same time, so that her back leg and front leg change onto the new canter lead all at the same time. And again, we should see her jump. That's it, putting that inside leg forwards, changing onto the new rein. Okay, so as we explained earlier, in dressage you have to then put all of those movements that I've shown you earlier together in the test where directed. So now, once we've shown you some of those moves in trot, Jazz is just going to do them in canter, and so we're going to see some of those moves put together. So now she's going to come around in canter from A. She's going to do a bit of shoulder in, into the half pass, which is now coming across. Very nice. To the end, where we're going to do a change of leg, a flying change. Nice. Okay, so as I was showing you the arena earlier and showing you the different letters and explaining how the dressage tests work, so this is just an example of a dressage test that you would do in a competition. So the competition kind of publish which test you'll be competing in. So, and you enter the different classes depending on your level of ability. So for example, this is advanced, this is the sort of test that the horse Jazz would do, that you just saw doing the movements. So this is an advanced medium test. So that's the level that she competes at the moment. And then as you can see there, it's test 91. So everybody who enters into that class will be doing the same test. So here you can see the explanation of what you need to do. So for example, the first instruction is you have to enter in collected canter at A, and then at X, halt and salute, and then proceed in trot and track right at C. So as you can see in the little example here of the arena, so you can see the letters there. You can see the explanation in the diagram there is that you enter at the top of the arena here at A, you go down, halt at X, which is actually a letter in the middle that of course is not visible, but you kind of know where that is. And then you complete down and track right. Then as you can see, all of the different other moves. And so as you kind of go down, you read through all of the test, you practice it, on the horse, and you practice learning it. And in the competition, you can have somebody reading the test to you so that you know exactly what to do where, and they'll read that out before you actually get to the letters to remind you of what to do, because obviously it's quite a lot to remember, especially as the tests get a lot harder, like it would be in advanced medium. But when you get into more complicated competitions, or you get through into regional finals, you actually have to remember the whole test, so you can't have a caller. So it is quite a lot to remember, especially when you've also got to be controlling the horse, when you've also got to be ensuring how the horse is going, making sure you're doing all of the right things, and you get penalties if you actually don't complete the right moves at the right time. So I just also wanted to show you the difference between an advanced medium test, which is quite a high level, compared to this is actually a prelim test. So this is something that we would do with one of the younger horses, if you have a horse that's just starting out to train in dressage. This is the first level, so there wouldn't be any of the complicated moves that you saw Jazz doing. This would just be a lot more simple. So for example, some of the instructions here are doing a half circle in trot, trotting down the centre line, doing a serpentine, which is making 3 loops. So nothing, no kind of trotting on the spot, no kind of moving parallel, moving sidewards, anything like that. So it's just more kind of walk, trot and canter on each rein. So then I thought I'd show you what you actually get from the test. So this is actually some time ago on a horse called Johnny that I did several years ago when he was just kind of learning and starting his training. So you actually get this the test here written out, so you can see the different moves as explained in some of the tests, and then you get your mark. So you get your mark for each move out of 10. And then when you get down to the end, they actually give you some collective marks. So, and these are worth double. You can see it here, it says 10 times 2. So you get double marks for your paces. So how the freedom and regularity, so how much they're in rhythm, how much the kind of paces are nice, free-flowing, and the horse is moving nicely. And then the impulsion, so the desire to move forward so that the horse is not being lazy or he's not looking unwilling. And then also the submission, so the harmony with the horse, so how easy he is in the movements, basically how easy you make the test look. And then you get a mark for your rider's position and seat correctiveness of the aids. And then the judge will actually also give you comments. Usually it's kind of a bit like trying to read doctor's handwriting as well, but they're usually really good comments and really constructive feedback. Everything usually tries to stay positive in the dressage world. So as you can see here, you've got some feedback where the mark was either good or bad. Marks are always out of 10, and really you want to be aiming for a 7. So you can kind of see here, we've got some 7s for some of the good movements that we did. 5 is not a great mark there, and it'd be something that he wasn't able to maybe execute so well, or sort of faltered as he was doing something. It wasn't quite correct. So as you can see here, quite varying marks, and then all of your collective marks. And then out at the end, you get a percentage. So really for a good mark, you want to be over 60%. So we just kind of got in here. And if you want to be winning classes, really, you should be getting over kind of 70%, which means you'd probably be in the top few riders. And this is a British Dressage affiliated competition. So this is something that's affiliated with the governing body. So it's actually a test that you can gain points in. So you get points for every time that you get over 60%, rather than you can go to local competitions and compete at dressage, but they wouldn't give you points with the governing body. You wouldn't actually have to be affiliated in order to do those, which is kind of great as warm-ups before you affiliate. And then we come on to, once you go to competitions, the prizes that they give out. So they're in the form of these rosettes. So you actually get kind of first, second, I think we've got a third somewhere. Yeah, so they're always the same kind of colours. Red for first, second is blue, third is yellow, fourth I think is green. And then you get some specials. So here we've got an area festival, which was the coloured horse that you saw in the field qualified for this. And he actually got through to the next stage as well. So you get some kind of special events as well. And this one here, so you've got 10th in advanced medium in the silver competition there, regional championships. So they usually kind of put quite a lot into the different prizes that you get depending on the level of competition and the importance of the competition. But as you can see, this is our board here. Jazz does really well at competitions, so she has a lot of kind of first rosettes here, some kind of more significant than others. I thought I'd also show you the horses' passports. So not many people might know that horses have passports, but they do. They're very different to human passports. So there's a lot of kind of text in here, but one thing they have here is the details of ownership. So you can kind of see in a lot of cases, if your horse has good breeding, you'll know who the owner is right from the start. So you can see here the other people that have owned one of our horses. And then instead of having like a passport photo, which could be quite complicated, a vet actually fills in on the horse any area of white space. So you can kind of see here that they've coloured in where the horse has white bits on the face and on the hooves and the legs, so that they can actually be identified. And then you have all of the information here detailing where the white actually is. You can also see the horse's parents here, so you can see the sire and the dam of the horse. And then you can see who has actually officiated that. You can then see all of their different vaccinations to make sure that the horse that you're buying kind of has that up to date. And you should also be able to see the horse's breeding. So here you can see actually, you know, the sire and the dam, and how that actually passes back through different generations, and where the horse comes from, which is kind of nice to be able to see. Obviously, it depends if your horse has the breeding in order to be able to do that. So after all that dressage, I thought I'd show you some of the other little ponies and horses that live at our stables. So these are the two smallest, our little dinky ponies. So this is Cloud, who's a little Welsh pony. She's a grey. So she's obviously white, but you call them grey. And this is her little friend Toffee, who you can't really see at the minute because she's got her winter coat coming out. Hey Toff! But she's a little Palomino. She's actually a little miniature horse. She's only about 9 hands high, so she just comes up basically to the top of your leg. As you can see, all her hair is falling out at the minute. And they're very close, very good friends. They live in a stable next to each other, and some little girls that ride them. My niece and my nephew rides Toffee, and 2 other little girls own Cloud. So they're actually in this area of the field which we call the orchard, and it kind of looks kind of cruel because you've got them inside this smaller pen with not particularly much grass, and this temporary fencing that we put up to stop them getting out onto the bigger patches of grass. So a lot of people don't know that although yes, horses eat grass, actually it can also be dangerous for them. So these two they're actually quite old, these 2 girls, around 14, 15. If they start eating too much of the lush grass, they will actually get something called laminitis, which actually makes them lame. So their feet get sore, and it's very dangerous for them. So we have to very much control their diet and make sure that they're only getting as much grass as they need, which is why we keep them on this kind of shorter patch here in what we call the orchard. So this is another one of our horses. This is Ronnie. He's a Irish sports horse. He actually, when we got him, he was kind of scared of people and he hadn't come from a very nice place. He'd been a bit mistreated before, so he was very skinny, as you can see now. It's not a problem. He's been out. We've had him for a couple of years now, and he's very friendly now. Before you couldn't really approach him or put your hand out to him. He also does some dressage, so he's quite a nice little mover. And he's tricoloured, so you can see he's kind of got this black mane and tail with his white bits in. He's also actually got some white in his tail as well. And he's out in this field. So the reason we kind of have him out on his own is just so that there's no field accidents, them biting each other or kicking each other, which if they get a bit of a run round in the field, they can actually do as well. He's a nice, soft and gentle little horse. All right, Johnny. And here we have Jazz, who you saw yesterday doing the dressage. So she's now chilling out in her field. A lot of competition places don't actually put their horses out in the field, but we like it. We think it's the kind of natural way that they should be. So Jazz here, still in kind of her own little enclosure. Hello Jessie, good girl. They're all nicely kind of friendly and approachable horses, but again we have her in her own field just so that she doesn't have any accidents or they kick each other.